Welcome to Projects from the Bottom Drawer. My name is Brian, and you can find us at wearboard.com/projects or bottomdrawerprojects.com. On the bench today, I once again have the EICO 950A RC bridge. There's not much left to do on the main switch. I have what appears to be, and may or may not be, a mica postage stamp capacitor, and underneath of it a capacitor of unknown make. Both those have to come out. So one of the things that I've heard over the years, and you probably have too if you've been doing this for any length of time, is that these postage stamp capacitors, they don't go bad. Well, that's really not true. The construction of those is the same as the mica capacitor, the silver mica in an IF can. That is, it's just some silver on a mica wafer with some metal tamped up against it. And over the time, these cases crack, they let in moisture, they collect stuff on the surface that may migrate through. So they will go bad. A more accurate thing to say would be you simply haven't seen one go bad yet. But if you dig around online, you'll find plenty of examples of people talking about those going bad, even as far back as the 90s. This device is 70 years old. A new part is cheap, relatively. And if you want this thing to continue on through the ages, there's really no need, well, there is need. There's no reason not to replace this part, just like any other capacitor. So we're going to do that with a brand new silver mica dog bone and whatever this thing is underneath of it. So let's just get started doing that. And I'm looking at my soldering iron tip here, and well, that thing's getting bad. Of course, it's been on there for years too, so it's probably about time to replace that. Let's see. All right. Solder, of course, is crap. So let's add some fresh in there to get it flowing again. Let's see. This wick expanded out just a little bit. Hopefully it'll pick up more solder that way. Let's see, are you even bothering to collect any of this solder? Not much. So let's do this. Does that go in? It sure does. So I have to be careful here. There's another wire behind the one from this capacitor, and I don't want to cut it. There we go. So let's heat this up. Come on, get out of there. I hit that little stub of wire and it wants to bounce back the other direction. There we go. And that joint is pretty yucky. So let's get... There we go. Awesome. So let's pull the other lead off down here underneath. And that one just came right out. So there's your postage stamp as all its blurry glory. So let's see, is that... Let me just look here real quick. Oh boy, what is that there? So it's going to be difficult for me to show you this, but right behind that is a piece of wire that's just kind of, it might have been connected at one time, but it's just kind of laying there up against its terminal. So I don't really know what that is. That'll have to be something we'll correct when we do the final wiring check. So let's get the remainder of that terminal cleaned up over here, and then we'll pull the bottom one off. And that solder just kind of crumbled off of there. That terminal doesn't even look wetted. All right. So let's see, let's get you cleaned up. There's a lot of solder on that terminal. How in the heck do they have that wrapped in there? Get some more light here. There's just wires flying everywhere on this terminal. I'm not really sure what's what down there. Let's see if we can clean that up just a little more. Okay, well, that capacitor was just kind of stuck there. Let's see, it looks like I can pull a piece of this wire out of here. All right, I don't know what that one was for. Let's let's get you out of there. So top and top. Yeah, and it looks like on the other side too, it's just like laid on the terminal. So at some point, the previous owner just kind of cut the capacitor out and then soldered it back in for some reason. All right, so that's cleaned up on that terminal. Nope, dang it. Don't hit the wire. There we go, that just falls off. Let's get in there and get this old piece out. Wow. Okay, well, that piece will be fine, I guess. All right, so let's get that capacitor out of there. It's a 0.02 at 400 volts. No clue what kind this is. Boy, that's light. So we've got a nice film for that guy. It's not going to stay there. And a nice mica to replace the other one. So let's see. Let's put that piece of wire down there. Yeah, I should be able to just drop those right back in their place, put them right through the terminals, solder them, and not worry about them. I'm not even going to wrap these. Just going to slide them through. Let's see. Let's see, how should I do that? Actually, I'm going to just do a little bit of lead forming here. Let's see, we'll bend those out. What did I knock off there? Probably that capacitor. Where did it go? There it is. Let's see. So we need to cut that off a little. Run this through. Let's bring this out just a bit. Actually, we'll wrap that around, just like yeah, just like that. That way we've got a nice wrap. Let's see, it's kind of hard to see there, but I've kind of bent this out a little bit, kept the leads coming out of the body of the part flat, well, straight. And kind of just wrapped around the terminal there. Let me go ahead and solder that terminal. All right. So the other side, let's see, let's flatten you out there a little. Let's see, what can we do for that side? So I'm going to just bring this. Actually, I'm going to have to turn this over. So one moment, please. Let's bring you around. And we'll cut that off. Put you back on there. And I'm sorry, it's hard to see what's going on in here. Let's see, can I get that wrapped up around? Let's see. Are you going to cooperate, Mr. Wire? Or are you going to be a pain in the butt? There we go. You're going to cooperate. Awesome. Let's wrap it around. Yeah, I'll go ahead and wrap them. I mean, there's no reason not to. Let's... All right, let's see. Let's hit that with some solder and figure out what we did with our other part here. All right. Set that, there it is. Boy, how did that get clear down there? So the other part, let's see, I'm just going to form the leads here. I'm going to do something similar, just kind of shove it through the terminals here. Now this one kind of sticks out a ways, so I don't think I'm going to do a whole lot with it. I'm just going to hit it with some solder. Well, maybe. Can I, let's see. Yeah, I'm just going to hit it with solder. Get a nice joint. Well, let me see if I can wrap that. There's not a whole lot of lead there. But it is nice, and no, that's not going to. Where is it? Yeah, maybe. Let's see. Can I get that around? I sure can. All right. Let's hold that there. Bend the other one real bad. Let's just bring that up around. There we go, a nice wrap. So let's reform the other one here that we messed up. I need 3 hands. All right. So let's see. Good, you can see the part. I'm going to go ahead and solder the side I wrapped. Try and get all of the leads they've got flying around on this thing in the solder. And on the other side, I'm really not sure where that... Okay, I see where that piece of wire I was talking about earlier went, and they've literally just blobbed the solder and they laid it on there and it didn't wet. So we'll have to fix that later. I don't feel like fixing that tonight. Or maybe, I don't know. Let me look at it closer. Maybe I will. All right, that one's got a little bit of a wrap on it, so we're going to call that a day. Let's see if we can get in here and cut that. All right. Clean up. Get the cruft off my tip. And there we go, nice fillet. So let me just take a look at this other piece real quick. And have to turn that away. I apologize. Where is that coming from? A piece of wire. It's coming from right down below. How hard is that going to be to get in there? Well, let's see what we can do real quick with that. Yeah, I'm sorry, I got to turn it this way. Absolutely nothing in there. Can I get in there? I don't know, I might have just enough wire on there to maybe. Why did they do that like that? It's like they soldered it, cut it off, and then unsoldered it, cut it again, and then soldered it. Is there enough there that I can do something with? Maybe. Let's see. Not really. Crap. All right. let's go ahead and fix it. I didn't want to do that. Got a piece of wire there. Put that back. Let's see, can we even see what we're doing here? Probably not. So right behind where we soldered that new mica capacitor, there's a terminal that, let's see. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to run this through like this. There's just no way around it. Can I get through there without desoldering, or is that just crud in there? No, that's not even soldered. All right. So let me get through there. That didn't work. Okay, let's get that old piece out of there first. Let's see, we'll move the old piece around. Oh, come on. Sorry, I can't see anything. I'm going to have to turn this one to the side. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to grab the new piece of wire. I'm going to size it. And I'm going to, let's see, going to bend it around. That's not working. No. Come on. There we go. Let's see, can I grab that without messing it up? And there we go. So I'm going to cut off the excess here. And then I'm going to, let's see. Where is it at in the photograph? Fortunately, it's kind of down in there, what I'm working with. You can't really see it very well. I mean, I can't see it very well, and I'm looking at it with a pair of magnifying glasses. So let me get in there. It probably would have been a little easier, excuse me, to have taken this off and soldered it this way without the front panel on, but I like to be difficult, so I'm not going to do it that way. Boy, that is just a crappy joint. The solder really isn't wetting on there well, so let's get a little bit of flux. Let's coat that with flux. Good old no corrode soldering paste. Don't need much. Ah, much better. Yeah, it still doesn't seem like it wants to flow on that terminal. Of course, those terminals are probably just as crappy as can be as after this much time. So let's get... So... Alright, it looks like I've got good flow on all the wires going into the lower part of the terminal. So today we replaced this 0.02, this 200p, and fixed a wire from the previous owner, one of their little snafus. So that pretty much takes care of all of the parts on the main switch. There are a few wires that still need to be run down. Clean this up while I see it. Get this garbage off of the front panel. There are a few wires that still need to be run down off of the switch, like this one here, which, some idiot took that off and didn't bother trying to write down where he took it, but that's on the schematic. Really, the biggest thing left is the power supply. And I need to decide how I want to run the components on there. Originally, they just had everything tied right onto the tube socket because most of the pins on the 6X5, let's see, we're down here on the tube socket, because most of the pins on the 6X5 are not connected, so you can just use them as tie points. But to be honest, I don't like putting, let's see, solder blob, let me get that off here. I don't necessarily like putting live AC on the socket, just in case something were to short, or, the plastic. These aren't quite as bad, but some of those other types, like wafer sockets, they can arc. And you have problems because, things may arc across different pins that are live on the device, and they may arc across things that aren't live and arc two live things. So I might just put a small terminal strip here off to the side for the AC lines, and maybe for another couple tie points, because there's a lot of stuff going on this socket. There's capacitors, a couple resistors, a bunch of ties. So let's see, there's something up here on this potentiometer that needs to be connected. There's a few wires still floating around here and there that we'll need to take care of. But this thing is starting to look pretty good. Eventually, hopefully soon, we'll be able to turn this thing on. See how it works. Or even if it works, which it probably won't the first time. That's always part of doing a job like this. You might make a mistake and you have to check for it. So thank you for joining me tonight. You can find this device and many others I've worked on wearboard.com/projects.